Okay, another thing that I wanted to show is another example of support and resistance and how you can trade some stocks based upon that. So here's Kohl's, KSS for instance. Here's another perfect example where, here's a pretty well-defined resistance. Here it looks like it's support. And again, these are lines I've drawn in before. They aren't magically drawn for me. Resistance, support, support again. And here was the point where there was a range. So let's say it, broke through this, you call this resistance, and got up here. That's another resistance and came back down. And it came down to support and it bounced off of it. And if it bounced off, you could buy, and then you want to sell up here, and so on. And it seemed to follow that pretty well. So sometimes what I do, what's really cool is I have these watch lists, and I can sit here. These are ones that I watched. Try to look for a pattern that have dividends that I made up. These are not recommendations by any means. And I can just sit here hitting the down arrow key, every day, just going, hey, do I see any buying opportunities? Do I see what looks like, it's a support bounce? Um, this is, and again, as you saw, I had those lines drawn in there, and here's some saved lines. It's great to have these lines that you've drawn in that you've identified look like support and resistance. Here's GE, like here, this is pretty clear as support and bouncing around between support and resistance. Um, and you go to Yahoo Finance, it doesn't save these for you, and you have to do this all over again, or you have to print them out and do it on paper or something like that, or save a bitmap. So, anyways, yeah, this is yet another demonstration of how powerful this is. And again, I was mentioning studies. There's just a ton. Some people want Bollinger Bands. You know, um, they want relative strength indicator, some stochastic indicator. And again, you can just put a bunch of these together and save them as a study set, and then quickly switch between them. Like here, I have the 20 and 50-day simple moving average. Some people have called. I can say it hasn't worked for me recently. The so-called death cross or golden cross. I tried it on some ETFs and it didn't work, but here's an example where it did work. So the theory is that if the 50-day moving average crosses above the 200-day moving average, that's a bullish signal. This is Qualcomm, and you can see if you bought here and you were somehow willing to wait this out here, you would have done pretty well. And the theory is that when the 50-day crosses below the 200-day, that's a bearish signal. Yeah, you kind of see that here. Let's go back to a 5-year chart, and this is going to go to weekly, which won't work for us. So let's do, oops, daily. Yeah, you're late. Unfortunately, way late here if you waited for this signal, which is bad. But here was a golden cross. This worked. So, for some stocks it works and it helps. Oh, another thing that you probably have noticed is these dollar signs and these arrows. So that tells you when earnings were announced. So some stocks, well, there's usually a danger in buying stocks right before earnings because it could fall big time if it doesn't meet expectations or the outlook is no good, whatever, and it can shoot through the roof of the conference if the news is better than expected. So here, these dollar signs show when the conference call and the earnings report were, and then these show when the dividends are distributed. This dividend here, and you can see some stocks jump or fall quite a bit in response to earnings. Like I think Priceline's a good example of one. Yeah, so well, maybe not. There's a few stocks that tend to, yeah, here's one that where it just, see, this is the close, and then look at where it closed the next day. You see, it closed at like what 509. The next day closed at 552. So here's one way just to watch out if something like that is coming up. And also, it's a guide for you to tell you, well, are they going to announce earnings again soon? Because if they announced 5.9, they're not going to announce the next month. A year ago they announced here at 8.4, so probably around 8.4 is when they're going to announce for 2012. let's see here. Let me turn this on. When you put in some of these stock symbols, it should tell you, oh, here's one. There's this Sienna announced recently, so it said this is where it was. And if there's upcoming earnings announcements, these will be in here. Unfortunately, I can't think of one where earnings are coming up soon. I've only known of ones that where they've passed. So anyways, hope this helps.